In this video, we're going to show you how to use the plough plane. And this is a plough plane here. And what this tool does is, it gives you a groove along the face of your material. And the idea of that groove is, you can fit, for instance, I'm using a piece of hardboard in, and that groove stops it from falling or dropping down the way. And the perfect, or the classic example for this is the bottom of a drawer. You'll see that a plough plane has been used along these three pieces of wood here to give you a groove, and the bottom's been fitted into that groove on three sides and glued on the fourth side. Plough plane. To set the plough plane, again, this plane has a fence and it has a foot. And same as the rebate plane, the blade, this is a thin blade, 5mm wide, which is, in this case, the thickness of the hardboard that we're using to fit into the bottom of the piece of material. Make sure that the angle is facing down the way. So you need to make sure when you put the blade together that the angle, just need to loosen that off a wee bit, or the bevel is facing down the way. And again, I want the blade just sticking out the bottom a fraction of a millimetre, and again I can use my rule, same as we did with the rebate plane, just to make sure that I've got a very slight rock on this blade. So the rule just rocks back and forward very, very slightly, and then I can clamp it in place. Happy with that. To set the fence, I'm going to set the distance from the corner of the blade into the fence as 6mm. So that's going to give me a size from the outside edge of my material to the start of this groove of 6mm. So I'm going to loosen off the two screws on the fence, and I'm just going to gently position this using a rule until I get it to 6mm. I'm going to then hand tighten the screws, check it, make sure it hasn't moved. I'm happy with that. Tighten it up, and that's the distance from the corner of the blade into the face of the fence, set at 6mm. I'm going to do the same with the foot. I'm going to loosen off the two tightening screws, gripping screws, and I'm going to set from the face of the foot down to the corner of the blade. I'm going to set that to 6mm. I'm going to tighten up these gripping screws again. And as always, when you're setting a tool or a plane or whatever it is you're setting, go back and check it, make sure nothing's moved. Finally tighten these up. Put a wee bit of wax on the fence and the foot, being careful that you don't touch the blade with your fingers. This is the hard bit of using a plough plane, is how to clamp the material. You need to clamp it so that you can grip the material, stop it from moving, but you can still get the plane past the clamps. So, again, two wee bits of packing to protect the surface of your material, and I need to pull this out from the edge of the bench so that I can get the body of the plane past these clamps, but I can still hold the wood of the material tightly enough so it doesn't move. Again, I'm going to start at the far away end. I'm going to use the plane. I'm going to put 4 fingers round, 3 fingers round the handle, thumb down the side of the handle, and I'm going to use this 4-finger to guide the plane. You can hold the body of the plane or the fence supports like this as you're working, but what you might find is better, or you get more control, is if you put your thumb on the fence and you run your fingers down the underside of the wood, and that allows you just to put a wee bit more pressure on the plane. And starting from the far away end, I'm just working back towards my body. That's the foot rubbing on the face of the material. I'm definitely going to use a rule, and I'm going to check that I'm down the correct depth all the way along before I unclamp it all. I've got a bit to do at this back end, and that's important, as I'm sure you can see, because if I take all these clamps off and find out it's not deep enough and I have to set it all up again, that's just a pain. So I'm just going to check my depth all the way along. That's finished. I could now use that as a side or a back or a face for a shelf, for a drawer unit or something like that. Piece of material fits in there. And the last thing I'm going to do is clean out the plough plane. I'm going to use an old paintbrush handle. I can use a pencil, but I definitely don't use a chisel or a screwdriver because I'll blunt the blade, and that just causes me problems. Plough plane used to put a groove in your material.